Roland, how are you, sir?
Hey, Tim. Good to see you. Great conference.
Thank you.
Love
Good to see you. And maybe let's go back to basics. Like Bitcoin is volatile. It's 30% drawdown, give or take, very historically normal. Am I saying crazy things here? What's your take?
No, actually, Tim, I was listening to Natalie, your previous guest, and I guess a couple thoughts. I'll get back to your question, which you asked now, but I want to go back actually in more distant past. Natalie mentioned that she's from Eastern Europe, which I am as well. I'm from Lithuania originally. And, I was thinking of a day, why I am into the Bitcoin. And I was thinking back to my childhood, and what I discovered and remember that we did have this huge inflationary periods in our currency, meaning when Soviet Union fell apart, and now we got that. So people savings got wiped out in rubles at that time, and then we got this Lithuanian currency, first currency called Talalas. That had like hundreds and hundreds of percent of annual inflation. So and then we had, our Lithuanian currency, another currency, which also had this very inflationary period. So first 5 years of 6 years of Lithuanian as independent country was hugely inflationary. And, people suffered. So I think, I was a child at that time, but I think something got probably ingrained in my mind as well. And I think it's a big part why I Bitcoin personally, and why would Bitcoin at GIGA. But going back to your question, actually, I have a few slides prepared, and maybe I'll share that because just kind of broad overview what I think about the 30% dip. I love it personally. We've been buying, this week. I'll be buying a bit more today. So I think it's a great time to buy, especially if you've been in the market for a longer period of time. I've been personally since 2017, as a company since 2021. So I kind of seen that in the past. And, I want to talk today a bit more about this conviction and consistency. I think that's kind of the two things what I'm discovering, and not having, of course, enough, big leverage, but conviction and consistency. I think that's what makes winning strategy in periods like that. So if you don't mind, I'll maybe share my screen. I have a few slides to go over, and hope will be interesting to viewers. All right, so I have small agenda prepared. Few things would like to cover, in the time we have. Maybe broader market overview, talk about conviction and consistency, share some examples, including our example. Review a little bit Bitcoin treasury companies and capital markets, and when this pure plays versus companies with operating businesses who has Bitcoin on their balance sheet, companies like ours. And I want to introduce a bit more of actually what we do when we don't buy Bitcoin, when we do have an operating business, and what we're all about in that. So with that, I'm browsing X, watching sometimes CNBC, and of course this time you see a lot of FUD, so which is of course is fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and people are fearful. Fear index, I pulled this chart from Bitbo, but fear index is at 11. Some show it's even less than 10. So everyone is very fearful, and if you put it in a context, actually, that level of fear we have not seen many times in the last 5 years. I think it was in 2020 during COVID, and it was 2022, mid of a bear market. And I think we had another one in April of this year when we have a tariff scare, and we have one now. But most of these times were good times to buy Bitcoin. And like I said, that's what we've been doing this week, and I'll be doing right after this interview a bit more. So what's causing it this time? I personally do not know. Is it profit taking? Because we, someone is predicting cycle top Q4 in 2025. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's global liquidity. Maybe it's capital rotation. It's hard to say what's causing this dip, but I think what I can say for sure, when I look back 5 years, I think I can draw some conclusions. And if you're not over leveraged, and if you have some cash, and especially if you have conviction and consistency to keep buying in these periods, usually come out at the top. Maybe not tomorrow, but with time, I'm sure when we look back, this time right now will be a great time to add to the stack. So some examples to share. Of course, one of his well-known companies, Strategy. And I was listening also to Saylor's podcast with Grant Cardone the other day, and Saylor was sharing about his conviction when he initially started buying in 2020. I don't know if you listened, but what he said, he wanted to smash buy 500 million worth of Bitcoin in one shot. And I think the board stopped him, so he was allowed only to buy 250 million in 2020. So talk about conviction, right? And then, so I think he has the highest conviction out there from all, deploying 250 million in 2020 and then, deploying more right after, I think 175. And keep buying, and then you talk about consistency. So, he kept buying, and from the cash flows, from money he was able to raise. And another story, and I think markets rewarded him. If you look back, yes, stock is depressed now, but even if all the selling now, even if stock trading, I think under $200 a share, when you look back from 2020 till now, they still outperform a lot of companies out there, including Bitcoin. So maybe at this time no longer Nvidia, but comparatively, they're doing amazing. MicroStrategy. Another story I would like to share is not well-known private company, which is ours. Yeah. And we've been buying since 2021. So we started a year later than Saylor, and we started on, not at the peak, we started on the down market. We started buying around $46,000 a coin. And I think we had enough conviction and consistency through in 2022, 23, 24, now of course 25, just continue buying when price action was up, when price action was down. And of course, for us is a bit different, was mostly driven by free cash flow on hand, which we could deploy. So that's what we used. And then I look back 5 years, and we look at with some stats, even if it's a depressed, Bitcoin rally now, it's not now, of course, it's no longer 90, it's less, it's like 86. But still, our cost basis is still around 66,000. So we're still up, around 28 million in Bitcoin gain. And now we added, actually, our ad shows less, but because we bought this week, now we have 1,202 Bitcoin, and I think we're going to have a bit more by tomorrow. So that's what I'm saying. When you have conviction, when you have consistency, and you allow enough time to pass, I think you have a winning strategy. And I think what kills many is leverage. I think that's kind of the biggest killer. As probably other things too. Like Charlie Munger was saying with 3 L's: leverage, ladies, and liquor. That's the 3 things that you probably might kill you or might kill your business. But in this case, I think leverage is a big one, at least in the Bitcoin, and because you can add a lot of leverage. You can leverage on some platforms, 100x, and be wiped out super fast. All right, so what's next? I think I want to maybe talk a couple distinctions about this pure plays, and when companies like ours, fast-growing, operating businesses with Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Michael Saylor started Bitcoin Treasury company in 2020. Of course, we did not start as a pure play. We started as operating business with actual cash flows, which we used to deploy. 2024, of course, we saw similar in MetaPlanet. In 2025, of course, we had a huge wave of companies. I don't know how many are out there. Pure Bitcoin Treasury companies. This summer, when we're at the top of excitement, it seemed like this trade will never end, right? Everyone was excited, MNAVs were flying high. And now, of course, we have quite opposite. We have extreme pessimism. We have MNAVs collapsed. And of course, pure play Bitcoin treasury companies have struggled to raise money. Not all, but most. I mean, we had few voices, of course, and I think yours might be one of them, but definitely Ben Workman's and Adrian Morris's and a few others who were predicting actually that. And we're saying, look, how important it is to have business, underlying business with operating cash flows in periods like that. And I think that's exactly what we're saying. If you're not a strategy, if you're not maybe there's too few other companies who can claim the same, you kind of do need these cash flows in periods like that. So you can continue buying Bitcoin and you can grow your business. So what companies used to use, what tools they used to use to buy Bitcoin? Cash flows. So that's obvious one. That's what we do. Metaplanet uses options cash, via cash secured puts. That's how they generate their income. Many raised pipes. Many companies would so go public and raise huge pipes, hundreds of millions of dollars. Many used ATMs when we traded above 1 MNAV, convertible bonds, and now, of course, new products preferred, such as Strive, Strike, Stride, and Stretch. And I know Stretch just launched another one in Europe and probably working another one in UK and probably Canada, and debt, right? So that's kind of your probably capital, the tools to raise capital and buy more Bitcoin. So strategy was very successful. Cash flows initially, right? They deployed close to $500 million. They used early on debt, which they retired. ATMs, they used very successfully, raised billions in convertible bonds. And now, of course, they innovated into digital credit with different preferred products. So strategy is actually doing, stock maybe not doing well, but I think their ability to raise capital, even in these environments, clearly they can continue raising capital. Now I have new companies like Strive, they raised big pipe, hundreds of millions of dollars. Now they launched their preferred, SETA, paying, I think, 12% dividend. So that's great with companies like that. We'll see probably we have enough Bitcoin and now ability to raise capital via preferreds, and probably will do fine in these environments. Companies like Metaplanet, they just launched their new preferred called Mercury. They very successfully use ATM to raise capital and, to stack this 30,000 or I don't know how many they have now Bitcoin, but and using options, to generate cash. And I think they generated quite a bit of cash, 16 million in Q3 of 2025, which is a screenshot from their website. So I think what's the difference between maybe these three? Definitely strategy and everyone else. So strategy definitely reached this escape velocity. They have their operating business, but it's such a minuscule compared to their Bitcoin. You can treat them as, of course, as a pure play of Bitcoin. So strategies for sure. Metaplanet, I think, we have to be seen, but they also reached this escape velocity with a lot of Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Strive could be next one. And who is next? I think time will show, because we have a lot of many Bitcoin treasury companies, and who will succeed, I think it shall be seen. Many now cannot raise capital, especially pure players, because they're trading under MNAV. Many have overhangs from pipes. So we'll see. I mean, I'm rooting for all of them because I think it's good for Bitcoin, but I think time will show, and maybe we'll see some consolidation and some other interesting things happening in Bitcoin treasury companies or with Bitcoin treasury companies. Next one I would like actually to talk about, it's a good time to talk about something more exciting, what Sailor talked about. So how do you 10x, 100x, or 1000x your company? and Sailor talked about, I think, on multiple stages about that. And I think, he was saying, if you want a 10x, just buy Bitcoin, hold it for 10 years, and you probably 10x your money. If you want a 100x, So you have to buy it with someone else's money, and that, of course, where potential leverage, or maybe, you sell some equity if your publicly traded company come in. And if you want 1000x your company, you buy Bitcoin with someone else's money, and you lever that Bitcoin via digital credit. That makes a lot of sense. It is not available to all people and all companies, of course. And I think we just seen quite a few who use digital credit, and Strategy is the one. Of course, MetaPlanet, and now Strive. And we'll see who else would be coming. But for the companies, I think that's not available. So what could be available for companies like ours and other companies who have operating businesses and who have cash flow? And so what can we do? So I want to talk a little bit about now transition from Bitcoin into what we actually do as a business. So because I don't know how many people are aware. I mean, we do know what we do, make some products, but we are actually solving, and we launched this year the platform and the new products to the market. So what problem are we solving as a company? So we're solving $115 billion problem in the United States. So, and that's number of annual total addressable market of US building envelope industry. So it is one of the last major sectors that has not been industrialized. The majority of facades in America still built by hand, outdoors, in unpredictable conditions, across dozens of disconnected trades. So what it does, this leads to slow schedules, unpredictable costs, inconsistent quality, labor shortages. So how do we solve it? So we replaced this field-built chaos with unitized and panelized building envelope systems, manufactured with automation, robotics, and AI-driven digital twin workflows. So now, as a developer, instead of maybe coordinating 10 to 20 vendors, now you need to deal with one, us, vertically integrated platform that designs, engineers, fabricates, and delivers complete envelope system. That results in 4 to 6 months schedule acceleration, factory level precision, and dramatically better thermal performance and scalable process that removes risks from construction while improving both costs and the quality. So to summarize, we eliminate field variability, the factory build precision. We do have end-to-end platform. We have a platform we can design, engineer, fabricate, and we train you how to install. You have massive schedule compression, which comes to cost savings from financing costs and other costs. Costs are predictable down day one, and quality control, and a platform that can scale nationally and globally. So, in other words, we're industrializing $115 billion category, but definitely need a platform leader. So we intend to be, that's how we would like to see ourselves, the Tesla of building envelope, because we focus on AI, we focus on technology. And I want to share short video, actually, how does that look like in real life? So I'll show you technology we developed. It's a design and estimating, 3D and AI-powered software to design a building. So imagine, you live in New York, you see all these buildings, you see New York City skyline and all these buildings going up. So I'll give you some more comments after I show you a quick video on what our actual platform can do for you, let's say, if you're a developer in New York City, for example. That's all to scale. That's all. It's a little bit accelerated, just for the time's sake, but it shows our developed in-house software technology to design, quote, automate 3D buildings in 3D, and click a button, you can go to production with automated machines all programmable, and essentially this is what you get. So if you developer Tim, you say, Roland, here's my sketch, and maybe draw me a sketch in a napkin. I can come back to you and give you this multiple designs of the system, precise quote, deliver dates, and if you like your price, like a design, say, Roland, let's go. With click of a button, we can go to production and be on site in a few months, and you can start installing. Of course, the actual process will take a bit longer because it still requires work with architects and some other trades. And we do that all at no cost to the client. So that's the beauty of the technology we have developed. So GIGA is a fusion between AI, robotics, and of course digital capital, which is Bitcoin. So where are we going? What is next steps for us? So we're going to continue to generate cash. We're going to continue to buy Bitcoin. I think we'll be able to continue buying bear markets because we have a cash flow. That gives us, of course, strategic flexibility. We are considering certain capital raising opportunities, maybe future IPO. And I guess the goal would be, from Bitcoin perspective, to reach that escape velocity, we can tap into digital credit and products like that. But of course, main focus is to continue focus on the core business. So we have steep goals. That's how I was playing around a little bit of, that's our goals, actual goals. So this year, 715 million. With 2035, that's a conservatively want to hit at least 1.2 billion in revenue. That's our targets as a company internally. Can we do that? I have no doubt. Can we do 100x, from where we are now? Probably. Can we do 1000x? I don't know that, but one thing I can tell you, we have super ambitious team that knows how to execute. So that's where we're going. So how do you 10x or 100x your business? I think you capitalize the business, the best asset on the planet, which is Bitcoin. You focus on technology and AI and automation. You solve real life problem for your clients and generate cash flows. You scale your business, grow your cash flows, keep buying Bitcoin. You raise capital, buy more Bitcoin. Your company public, raise capital, and you buy more Bitcoin. You start using digital credit, and you can then buy maybe tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin. And you keep growing your business and cash flows, and you keep buying more Bitcoin. So that, I think, look, I want to conclude. You can follow us at BTC on X, or look up us on our website at giga.us. Our slogan is build easy, stack hard, and I think now it's one of the best times to continue stacking. So that building too, but definitely stacking at this moment in time. And that's the end of my short presentation. So
awesome. I think you covered where to find you. Any quick closing thoughts? And thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you making the time, Roland.
Thanks, Tim. Bye.
Thanks. When it comes to holding Bitcoin securely, peace of mind starts with architecture. OnRamp's multi-institution custody model distributes control across 3 independent, regulated key holders in a 2 of 3 multi-sig quorum. No single point of failure, no pooled or omnibus exposure, just segregated, client-titled vaults. You retain full legal ownership while OnRamp coordinates security, compliance, and operational workflows behind the scenes. It's the strength of many, delivered through the simplicity of one. MIC is the foundation for everything OnRamp builds. Sound infrastructure that distributes counterparty risk and provides fault-tolerant resilience with clear audits and institutional controls. And now, OnRamp is piloting flat, predictable pricing, making best-in-class Bitcoin custody and financial services more accessible than ever. OnRamp. Strength in many, simplicity in one. Visit onrampbitcoin.com to learn more. Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by Stampseed. If you're in cold storage, you know how important it is to protect your seed phrase. That's why I recommend you head over to stampseed.com and check it out for yourself. This seed phrase storage device is one solid piece of titanium. There are no loose pieces, and you can hammer your seed phrase in letter by letter. When you go to stampseed.com, use promo code TIM15 for a 15% discount across the website. That's TIM15. Join us at the Wynn in Las Vegas, February 23rd through the 26th, 2026 for Bitcoin for Corporations. Use code KOTZ when you grab your tickets at strategy.com, and we'll see you there. This episode is brought to you by Arch Lending, the premier provider of crypto-backed loans designed for both individual and institutional investors. At Arch, your digital assets work for you without selling them. Arch offers flexible loan options tailored to your needs. Backed by industry leaders like Morgan Creek Digital, Castle Island Ventures, and Galaxy Ventures, Arch Lending is setting a new standard in crypto-backed lending. Are you ready to unlock the potential of your crypto assets? Visit archlending.com to learn more and configure your loan today. Are you looking for comprehensive analytics on corporate Bitcoin adoption? Strategy Tracker delivers real-time insights into how companies are executing their Bitcoin strategies completely free. Monitor NAV premiums, cost basis performance, and track how corporate Bitcoin Treasuries perform against the market. Upgrade to Premium for just $3.99 a month and unlock exclusive benefits like detailed market rankings, real-time trading volume analysis, and advanced performance metrics for corporations embracing Bitcoin. Apply code KOTZ at checkout for 100% off your first month of Premium. Strategy Tracker is your essential tool for measuring the effectiveness of corporate Bitcoin strategies. Visit strategytracker.com and gain the analytical edge in understanding the Bitcoin Treasury phenomenon.